Hey you guys, how are you guys doing?
Hi, Khawar. Doing all right? How are you?
Good, good.
Nice. I'm just going to ping them. I'm sure others are joining. Just me ping them.
All right. Santosh, man, how's it going?
Santosh, you're on mute.
Yeah, no, he's typing.
Okay.
We are going to wrap up today. I have my SDA lab, my switches got delivered, so that's why I need to go right after the class.
All right. Nice one.
We're missing Shaham and who else is there?
Prithvi and Shiham, they should be joining.
Prithvi,
They
yeah.
had.
There's Prithvi, Shaham is the only one now.
Yes.
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Doing good. How are you, Prithvi?
I'm good. I'm good. And how's everything?
Good, man. I'm over the top, man. My switches got delivered finally. He's going to install them today. I had the DNAC installed and the ICE.
All right. Okay.
So I'm doing the switch configuration today. Not configuration,
LAN,
adding it
LAN
up
automation.
to the connection of the console and set up my console server and physically connect the switches.
All right. Okay. I mean, are you using LAN automation to deploy or what?
I'm going to do both. I'm going to do the manual as well as LAN. I need to show them both. But
Yeah.
right now, I'm not, today I'm not doing that. I'm just physically connecting the switches, cabling them up, setting the console up and all that.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. I mean, one thing you need to keep, one thing you need to keep in mind, if you're using LAN automation, you need to unplug the management port, or the management port shouldn't be connected.
I don't think I have them on the switches themselves, right? On the seed device?
Yeah, on the switches. On the switches. No, not on the seed, on the edge. Yeah.
On the edges, they're not connected anyways. So that is not a problem. DNAC diagrams. Am I sharing or no?
No.
Yeah, Shiham is not joining now. He'll maybe join a bit later. So you can start when you're ready.
Okay, I am. So this is the physical layout, Prithvi. So I have my ICE, ESX set up, my SF set up, so I can back up my DNAC to it. So I don't need to go through the maglev configuration every time I need to reset. So I've taken a blank copy of the DNAC on SFTP. This is my management PC. This is all in the ESXi box. All of that.
Perfect. Perfect.
This is my Fusion device, internal router, connecting into the CNB device. It's a single one.
So, okay, control border. Okay, that's fine. Border, I mean, it's just one border, right? No internal,
one internal. For the known and the unknown, I'm having one.
Yeah, okay.
And then
more, yeah.
The reason I connected it like this is I can do LAN automation when I do the LAN automation. I'm going to do the link over gigs 1/0 and 1/3.
Okay.
I'm not going to use the underlay in that case because this underlay is like a 3700
okay, that's an intermediate node.
Yeah, intermediate, like a non device.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, intermediate node can be anything, to be honest. Yeah, that's fine.
For LAN automation, I'm going to go direct. For the underlay, I'm going to do through the intermediate device team. And these are my two PCs. This is the physical connection I'm going to have. I had this done already, so I just need to physically cable it up and put I have a console server, so I have console access to all these devices.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and you can see what is being pushed and everything.
Yeah. Good, no? This is.
Yeah, it's small and sweet. It looks good.
Good, man. All right, give me 1 second. We'll get started. I am recording. Yeah, I am recording already. And where's the chat? If somebody wants. 1 second, we'll get started. All right, guys, ready? I'll try to knock it out. We have 2 topics left, 2 major topics that I need to finish off today. Number 1 is direct internet access. And the other one is quality of service. And that would wrap up the whole thing. But before we get into that, let's just do a recap though of the entire thing. I have this topology over here. In order to set it up, what's the first thing that I need to do in terms of SD-WAN? Where do I start? Where do I start, guys? With the controller?
We need all the list of devices.
No, before that, the controller setup, right?
Controls, yeah.
That is over here. You start with the CLI. From the CLI, to your, what do you call it? To the graphical. You set the certificate server up, which was this guy. Once that's done, you register each one. The 3 devices are up and running. Once that's done, what's the next thing that you do? Your reachability up until the V edge is there. What do I do on the V edge? You do the skinny config. And if you look at the device bring up, once the skinny config is done, you push the root. Once the root is pushed, then you do the install of the root certificate actually. Install the root certificate. And then the vEdge chassis. You remember that?
Yeah.
So that would bring up my edges. But the whole purpose of this is not, is so that you can centrally control everything. So once the devices have been onboarded, they are present in what? Your vManage. What's the next thing that you do? You start creating
templates.
The thing that you need to remember about the templates, the templates will be good if your design is proper. What do I mean by design is proper? If you take a look at my branches, you will notice that I've used the same interface on all the 3 branches as the inside, same interfaces on the outside connecting to the same outside networks. If you do that, you can create one template and apply the template to all the different devices using that option in the template called device specific. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
And when I'm doing the templates, how do I do the templates? Just so that it's a good recap for you guys. Where is this? I think under, yeah, right here. You guys remember this? The different templates, the base templates that you need to create to set this up. You have your system, your banner, which is generic to all of the different devices. Then you have the VPN. Under the VPN, you have the VPN interface. In my case, I have 2 interfaces on VPN 0. One is the MPLS device interface, and the other one is the Biz Internet. So I need to create templates for both of them. All right. And then I set up my external routing. In my case over here was OSPF in most cases for the branches. This is generic VPN 512 to fulfill that requirement for the template to have a VPN 512 created and the interface for it. And then the service VPN. Again, the service VPN requires the VPN template, the VPN interface template, and the internal routing template. One of the things that I also did, and I'll share this document with you guys as well, is I created this document the other day in terms of the templates. Take a look at it. What are the different things that I need to do under the system? Host, site ID, system ID, console, and the baud rate, and I specified what you need to do with it. Why do I keep them device specific? Because these numbers, these parameters will be asked as you deploy the template. You can use the same template on multiple places. Banner, because I want to keep the same banner for all of them, I use the global option. So 2 things under the banner. Under the VPN 0, I would have the transport, VPN 0 transport VPN. In that, I need to specify the global, the number, 0, and the default gateway, because different ones will have different default gateways. The default gateway for the VPN 0 is specified in the VPN template. Then under the VPN, you would also have the VPN interfaces. In my case, I'll have 2. Gig 0, which is a VPN interface template for VPN 0. These are the parameters that I need to specify over there. Things like what? Shutdown should be off. That means no shutdown. The interface, gig 00. Make sure when you specify the interface in the template, it is case sensitive. So the interface ID is GE0/0, not gig 0/0 or something like that. Very specific over here. IP address, device specific. Why? Because I want the same template to be used by multiple devices. The tunnel, because I'm doing it for gig 0, which is VPN 0, is on. It is the MPLS color and allows services all netconf SSHD. Same thing for what? VPN 0, gig 01, shutdown off, the interface, the name, the same parameters. The only difference is it's Biz Internet. And then the routing protocol. What are the different parameters in the routing protocol? I specified it over here. So this gives you like one quick summary of what do you need to do under each template. And then under the VPN management, create the VPN, just the number, and then the interface. Data, the service VPN, just the number, because I don't need a default gateway over here. Why? The default, I am running an internal routing protocol. The interface and the protocol. One thing that you need to do extra on the service VPN, you do need to redistribute what? OMP into the internal routing protocol. Everybody okay with this?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, I didn't want to reset this up because it would waste a lot of time. So what I've done is I have set this up prior to the class. This thing is all working right now based on this topology. So my topology that you guys have over here, Los Angeles, London, Rome, and Dubai, the site is set up. I can go to any of the sites. Let's go to router 2. This is the internal router 2 site, show IP route, OSPF. And I have 11, 12, and 13 from Dubai, 31, 32, 33 from London, 41, 42, 43 from Rome. So my full topology is set up. Everybody okay with this? If I want to do a trace route, I can do trace to 172.16.31.1, source of loopback 1. And it should be working. Yeah? Everybody okay with this?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So the topology is set up. My main objective over here was to have the topology set up, which that's why I tried to do a review so you guys understand what I've done at this point. Good? Now my first objective today, the actual objective, is DIA. Yeah? What is that? Direct internet access. Think about something. This is my data center. I want my people over here, I want them to be able to go to the other sites through the VPN, but at the same time, I want these devices also to be able to access the internet. This is the internet over here. Let's say there's Google, Facebook. How do they access that? You have two options. You can either NAT at the headquarters site. That means if they want to go to the internet, they would need to send the traffic from here, because right now I'm not allowing any traffic outside the VPN. All the traffic will be routed either through here to the headquarters, maybe go out to the internet like that, or even go like this and come back out to the internet. You understand that? Yeah? They cannot access the internet right now. Okay, let me show you that.
Yep.
To have a proper connection, what I'll do is I'll go to site 2 and I'll do show IP route. It does not have any. The only routes that it has is all the routes for what? The VPNs, private routes, right? So let's say I want to do a default gateway. I'll put a default gateway over here, pointed towards 20.2. 20.2 is VH2, this guy. Yeah? So I'm pointing to VH2 as my default gateway. So if you look at your topology, what I've done is I created a default route towards him. This one has a default route towards what? The internet. Take a look. VH2. Do you see this default gateway? But it's in what? VPN 0. I'm coming in from VPN 1. I won't be able to go from VPN 1 to VPN 0 by default. So although my internet cloud, which has, I've created a loopback over here. Show IP interface brief 8888. Okay. I have enabled telnet over here. And if I go on to, let's say, the HQ router, and I will try to telnet to 8888, I can telnet in, no problems, to the internet router. But if I try to telnet in from the internal site, which has the default gateway, it will not work. Why not? The reason is the packet comes in from where?
VPN 1.
It comes in VPN 1, checks the routing table, doesn't find anything, it just drops it. Now I have one choice that I can point the default gateway to VH1 and allow it to go there. Or what I can do is I can create what is known as Direct internet access, a very common thing to do on the edges. You want Los Angeles to go to the internet direct. I don't want them to be backhauling into the headquarters. They have an internet connection, use it. Everybody understand the concept first. Forget about the configuration part of it.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yes.
So how do I accomplish that? Let's take a look at that. It's basically two steps, two main steps. Number one, enable NAT, because this is all on the internet. On this interface, I'm going to enable NAT. Number two, create a policy to forward traffic to NAT. The central policy that we talked about, I'm going to create that. The NAT interface, which is gig 0/1. So the first thing is enabling NAT on what interface? The internet facing interface. Which one is that? Gig 0/1. Now I have 3 or 30 devices. If I've done my planning properly, the design properly, I would need to do what? I would need to do the template, one template, and it'll take care of it. So how do I do that? Let's do that over here. I'll go to templates, configuration templates, go to the feature template and pick on gig 0/1, the template for gig 1, which is VPN interface, VPN gig 0/1. If you take a look at it, edit, there's an option for NAT. All I got to do is enable it. It's going to do PAT basically off of the outside interface. If you want, you can also do static NAT on this one. You can define characteristics for NAT. Right now, NAT is what? Off. That's the default. So what am I going to do over here? Enable it. Global, enable it for all of them. When you enable NAT over here, it shows you the option that you can create different static NATs as well over here if you wanted to. I don't really care about it. My objective over here is just to create NAT. Did I go and do it? Enable it. Click update. And when I click update, because this interface template is assigned to 3 devices, it'll say, hey, listen, you're updating 3 devices right now. I'll say next, and I'll pick on one of them and see what change it's making. The main change, there's only one real change that is done. On the gig 0/1 interface, it's going to enable NAT. It's a single command, but I'll show you that. Config difference, side by side. The only difference should be this thing over here. Under gig 0/1, what do I have? This command called NAT, which is basically PAT. It's going to PAT whatever address that I sent to it based on that 102.2 address. That's the public address. Configure it, paste or push it. That's my first task. Everybody okay with this? You guys understand what I try to do over here? So I've enabled the NATing on that interface. Which interface? The internet facing interface. Notice I didn't do it for gig 0/0 because that is the MPLS link that connects me not to the internet, but to my MPLS cloud, which is the other site. Everybody okay with this? Simple enough?
Yes. Basically, it's like a local breakout, right?
That's another word for it. Direct internet access is local breakout.
Yeah.
So same exact, it's basically 2 terms for the same thing.
So the current VH doesn't have any security. What security settings you can do it for local breakout if in case?
If you want, you do have the ability to enable a built-in firewall on it. Like an application layer firewall, not an application, like a normal zone-based firewall. It's really a zone-based
access list, just some access list. Or...
Yes, it's not too sophisticated, but that would be your first line of defense. It's like it's your firewall on a router, basically. You would generally want to, if you want to really protect your setup, you would want to do it over here. So this is where your NGFW would come in probably.
So the more powerful design is that to keep a local firewall there on the side if you want local breakout for applications.
But you can do it over here.
Yeah.
Over here as well. Got it?
Yeah.
Clear? So this is done. So my NAT is done on my devices. So all three should be coming in as successes. I didn't do too much. I just put that NAT command, NAT capability on the devices. Now, what's the next thing that I need to do? I need to create a policy to forward the traffic towards the vEdge. Understand one thing. The way I'm going to create a policy is I'm going to say, hey, listen, anything that is my internal network, I want that to run normally. So corporate networks, for example, to corporate network traffic, normal. Anything that's not corporate to corporate, meaning it's not one from 172 to 172, it's from 172 to something else. Anything else? What do you want to do with it? NAT it. You understand that? So where do I create this policy? I create this policy normally, it's a centralized policy. So again, configuration, policies. Because there's not a lot I need to do, I'll just go directly into the centralized policy. In here, I'll do my normal stuff like what? VPN, add the VPN list. VPN will be 1. Add my sites. I'm going to focus on Los Angeles, London, and Rome. The headquarter, I'm not going to do too much right now. So just focusing on that. You guys understand this, right? I'm going to use these lists later on, just like I used for the policies, the ones that we did the last time around.
So currently you don't have any policies set. This is the first policy you're setting. Yeah?
Correct. If you had a policy, it would be another sequence that you would add to that policy.
Okay.
And then what else do I need? I need a data prefix because this is going to be a data policy. So over here, it's a data prefix. So it won't have the GELE because it doesn't have the mask. So I'll call it corp nets. All my corporate networks are 172.16.00/16. Take a look at it. Everything starts with what? 172.16. You all good with this?
Just a quick one there, Khawar. Do you need data prefix? You can call them using the site IDs, right?
Yeah, you can, but I'll show you why I'll call it. I need that.
Okay.
I'll explain that. You'll see that in a second. Because I want to do a, what do you call it? A policy. Did I add? What happened? I thought I added. Okay, now it comes. This is strange.
One of your names is different. So you can delete that anyway. So.
Okay, they are different, but I want to delete the other one. I want to have two.
Yeah.
Second one is over here. Trash it. It wasn't showing before. That's why I created the second one. There you go. Corp nets 172.16.00/16. And I have the VPN list and I have the site lists. Good? Yeah? Now, this was the group of interest, the lists. Now I'll go and create a look at the topology. I'm not creating any control policy over here. So I'm going to skip the control policy. If I already had a control policy, I would do the control policy for routing. This thing, the natting, is under traffic policy. I'm not doing app-aware routing over here. We've done that in the past. I'm going to do traffic data now. We have not done traffic data up until now. We did app-aware routing for the what do you call it? Do you guys remember that chat and all those telnet web policies? So I'm going to do traffic data now. I'm going to create a policy, create new. I'll call it the Nat policy. Now in the Nat policy, I'll add a sequence, custom. The first sequence, the first thing that I want to do is, if it is my corporate network, I want that traffic to be going directly through the VPN. So I don't want to do any natting for that. So this is like your exception. If it's my corporate to corporate, don't nat it. Okay, how do I do that? Match. Now, what are my conditions for matching? To match this traffic. Do you see this? Because this traffic data, the site ID does not show up over here. Do you get my point? So that's why I created what? The prefix, this data, the actual source IP, destination IP. Now what I want to do is I want to say, if anything that comes in from 172.16 going towards what? 172.16, let it go. No NAT. Okay? Like a NAT exemption type of thing. So how do I do that? Source data prefix and destination data prefix. Source and destination. In both of them, I'll say corporate to corporate. Does that make sense, guys? So what am I saying over here? If traffic comes from 172.16, it's going to 172.16. What action do I want to take? This is the match, the action portion of it. Accept it. Accept means allow it. Good. Save the condition. That's my first one, which basically says if it's corporate to corporate, accept it. So when site 2 wants to talk to site 3, or site 2 wants to talk to Dubai, or site 2 wants to talk to site 4, it will accept it, means allow the traffic to go through the normal routing procedure. But then I'll create a copy of it, second one, and I'll edit the second one. In there, I'm going to say source. I'm going to match the source, but I'm not going to keep a destination. As long as the source is corpnets, I want to NAT it. How do I specify that? Go to the actions, accept, and one of the options will be NAT. And as soon as you say NAT, it automatically NATs to what? VPN ID 0. Make sense? So if I save this policy, I want you guys to take a look at the two policies now. What do they tell you? If it's corp to corp, let it go. Anything else that starts with corp, NAT it. Understood, guys? If you work on a firewall, this is a typical firewall configuration where you have firewall and VPN running on the same device. This is what you would do on a firewall. Now for the rest of the traffic, that is traffic coming into the device, I'll take the default action of accept. So there are 3 rules in this particular one. The custom rule, which is corp to corp, do what? Accept it. Corp without any destination, NAT it. And the default action accept. Save it. Now my policy is created, I need to apply it. How do I go about applying it? Traffic policy created. Next. Now to apply it, this is my main policy. Go to traffic data because I don't have a topology or app-aware routing. In my case, the only thing that I have is traffic data. Nat policy. Who do I want to apply it to? Now, I want to apply it to when the traffic is coming from service. What does this from service mean? From service VPN. Understood? So if the traffic comes in from the service VPN versus from tunnel, means coming from outside. I want to do natting for traffic coming in from what side? From the service side. So I'm going to say from service. What sites? I'm going to apply this to LA, London, and I'm going to apply it to Rome. And it will be part of what? VPN. What policy am I applying? That policy called the Nat policy. So I'm going to apply it to LA, London, and Rome, coming from the service side, which belongs to VPN1. And save it. Where's the save? There should be a save for this before. There you go, add. So I should have LA, London, Rome, VPN1, direction from the service side, and I'm done. Save it. And I activate it. Now to activate it, the vSmart needs to be inside vManage. It is. I have already done the template for it. Activate. And in progress now. This is my first policy that I'm applying. So let it go through.
So while it's doing that, Khawar, just to go back, suppose in a real world scenario, you may not have all the IPs of a traditional branch network or whatever. Let's say if they're integrating with an existing network, wouldn't it be easier to go with the site IDs? And is there an option to do that using just
There's
the
no
site
option in the traffic policy to do it based on the sites.
Okay.
Because it's data.
So
We're looking at data. You're not looking at control. You're looking at the data portion of it. So site ID is not an option in the control. Let me show you where it's at. See, I went in. If you take a look at it, it is under centralized. It's traffic policy.
Yeah.
Traffic data. This is the one that is the Nat policy. And let's add a new one. I'm not going to do anything with this one. When I do this, and I'll add a sequence number. Where is it? Custom. The options that you get are these. Application, DNS, these are all data options, whereas site ID is a control option.
And under control option, you don't have an option to NAT?
No, because control is not data. Control is what? The routing portion of it. Natting is for data portion.
Okay.
But it's not.
But that would have been easier. That is not a major issue to,
Say your voice
would have been much easier if they just incorporate site ID for a natting.
It's not that big of a deal, to be honest, though, because
I was just saying that sounds logical, isn't it? To have,
No, site ID is up because site IDs doesn't deal with data. Site ID is a control thing. It's like saying I want to have metrics and subnets on my data portion. Not possible. Okay. When a data packet comes in, it does not have subnet mask, does it? So those type of things are control characteristics that you're talking about.
Okay, got you.
Good. So this is done, but I want you guys to see a couple of things over here. For site 2, it will work. Let's go to site 2 now. Remember, this was not working before. Now, if I try to do the same thing, I'm in. I'm into the internet router. I've been translated as 192.1.102.2. So I've done the local breakout, direct internet access, whatever you want to call it. One small thing that I want you guys to be aware of, up until now, I was doing normal routing, right? So if you take a look at router 3, router 2, I did the static route manually, right? You don't want to go and do a static route manually. On router 3, I'm running OSPF with whom? with my edge, right? So one of the things I can do in OSPF is inject a default route. So even on router 2, I'm going to get rid of the default route. By the way, just to show you, if I don't have the default route, which I manually configured, this telnet would not work because this guy does not know how to route this. It does not have a default gateway on the internal router. The default gateway is on the edge. It's not on the internal router. So one of the things that I would recommend that you do from your vEdge on your template, again, because you are using templates, that's the beauty of it. You have 15 sites, you can use one click and it'll apply to all of them. I'm going to go to my feature template for internal OSPF. Let's do OSPF. VPN1 BR branch. No, OSPF for VPN1. All right. Which one is this and which one is it? This is 0. So over here, what I can do is edit. In OSPF, I have the ability to inject a default route. So that would be under advanced. And let's check. Is it here? Where did I keep? I see it.
Is it originate or?
Oh yeah, originate. There you go. That's what I was looking at. I was sure it was under advanced. So global, on, always. So even if I don't have a default route, inject a default route in. This is equivalent to the command called default information originate always. So I'm going to inject the default route into my internal router. I would recommend doing that rather than going to all the internal routers and doing what? Default routes manually. So next, I'll show you what it did. Now let's pick on one of them. VPN1 is what I want to look at. Default information originate always. You see that? On VPN1. So now when I do this, OSPF is going to inject the default route in. So it's going to configure all the 3 devices. Actually, the 4th one as well, because it's also going to do it on the edge. And I can go down over here, wait, and I should eventually see what? The default route getting injected by OSPF. Right now, I don't have it. This is the before. All right, now we can wait for this to kick in. Everybody following, guys? It's not that tough to do as long as you know what you're doing. Now, this is this is one product that if you don't get training properly, you'll be struggling. It'll take you a long time to do it. Trust me, I've gone through the pain. There's not a lot of good material for these type of things out there. You have half the things where they miss out on a couple of steps that they assume that you know. And because of that, you're there forever.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like a lot of the documents don't tell you that you need to enable NAT on the interface. They'll do the policy and all that. They don't worry about the, oh, you need to enable NAT. You don't do enable NAT, nothing happens.
That's why we are here, Khawar.
I'm just telling you, it's easy. Now you know it. It's very simple to do it. But that's the power. You know it or you don't know it. Now you know it. You can make money now. So now that this is done, I should have a default route over here. Good. Now this will also work now. 8888/loopback1. I can do it from 3. Two users connected, and the third one, you guys understand what I did, right? Everybody okay following along?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. Basically, just two things, right? One is the natting and one is the default route.
The policy. The third
Yeah.
one, you didn't need to do it as long as you have a route. I just showed you the default gateway injection. So basically, NAT on the interface, the internet interface, the central policy, allowing what? VPN to VPN traffic, natting the rest. And the third one was optional, inject default in. In meaning internal towards the internal device. So these are the three steps. You all good with this? One sec, guys, I have a message. One sec. Oh. All right, so that is the first topic, which was DIA, Direct Internet Access. The next thing that I also want you guys to be aware of is the local policy, not local policy, the quality of service, QoS, which is implemented using the localized policy. So far, we've done what? What policy did we look at whenever we configured the policy? We've been using what? The centralized policy, right? What is this localized policy? We'll take a look at that now. But before we do that, what is that I'm trying to accomplish over here? My objective over here is to set up quality of service. Where is the diagram? It should be over here. So what I want to do is when traffic comes in from my service side and is going towards either the internet or is going towards MPLS, I want prioritization to be done. In terms of what? I want voice traffic to be given preference, LLQ. I want maybe web traffic to always have a certain amount of bandwidth reserved, and the rest of the traffic, which I call best effort. And I can also reserve the amount of traffic in each one of those queues. I will mark it inbound. I will apply it outbound. So I'll have two different interfaces that I'm going to do this on.
This is kind of DHCP value we are mapping, Khawar?
This is, what does DHCP do? DHCP does not give you quality of service, first of all. DHCP, okay, and I am going to use that. DHCP is a marking mechanism.
Yeah.
Right? So once I mark the packet coming in, based on that mark, because all voice traffic will be marked with a certain DHCP value. When it comes in with that DHCP value, I'm going to match it based on what? What is the DHCP value for your voice traffic generally? What is it? DHCP 46, 42, something like that? Or 30 AF34? What is the DHCP value? Huh?
It was 40, right? 40.
No, 46, I think. Yeah.
46, right?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. So 46 coming in, I'm going to mark it and I'm going to put it into a queue. That's what I'm going to show you guys over here today. Yeah? Everybody good with this?
Yep.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
You understand what I'm trying to do over here. So
yes,
I don't want to do it on the MPLS. I could technically, but I'm assuming that the MPLS is not choked. I'm only doing it on the internet. I could do it on both interfaces. And if you want to do it on both interfaces, I'll show you how to do that as well. So there's a certain flow chart that I want you guys to analyze and see what happens with the data traffic and what do you need to do. When the traffic comes in from the device perspective, I'm going to do it from the other side. So the PC sends, or PC or your phone sends the traffic into what? Into your vEdge. And I'll do the vEdge over here like a big device. This is the Ingress interface. When the traffic enters using an ACL, I am going to classify the traffic and I'm going to put the traffic into a queue. On the Ingress side or on the vEdge, there are 8 queues, 0 through 7. Zero, 1, let's say 2, all the way to 7. By default, all the traffic, if you don't configure anything, by default, all the traffic that is control traffic. What do I mean by control traffic? OMP, BFD, all that traffic automatically goes into Q1. Q1 is your LLQ. You cannot change it. It is preset to LLQ. Low latency queuing, strict priority. The other queues are up to you. This is the only one that is important. The other queues that you have, if you don't have any other queuing mechanism created, they send all the traffic into Q2. But these are queues that you can create or manipulate. Understood? So now if you want voice traffic to be prioritized, strict priority, which is generally the case, normally with voice traffic, you want to put it into what queue? Into the strict priority queue. So what I'm going to do with the ACL is I'm going to say, hey, listen, if voice traffic comes in, and the way I'm going to say it's voice traffic, one of the ways is the DSCP value. If the DSCP value is 46, put it into what? Q, which one? 0. If it's web traffic, port what? 80 or 443. Send that into Q1. And the rest, I'll call this best effort. The rest of it, send it into what? Q2. Understood, guys? So what have I done over here at this point? I've just mapped on the Ingress traffic coming in based on a certain type of traffic. I've assigned that traffic to a particular what? To a queue. How many queues do you have? How many different classifications that can you do? You can do 8 different classifications, with the first one, Q0, being the low latency queuing. Good so far?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
What I've done for you guys is I have created a flow. I'm going to use an ACL, classify traffic into classes, and apply it to the Ingress interface. Ingress means what? The incoming interface. Actually, I combined what I did for you guys. I combined 2 steps over here in one shot. So I basically put it into a class. So I create a class. When I go to implement it, I'll say in this ACL entry, I'm putting it into this class or a class map. And the class map, for example, LLQ is mapped to Q0. Okay. ACL for web is a class map called web. In the ACL, I would have defined port 80 and 443. Over here, I would have defined the DHCP, for example, to 46. And based on that, I put it into this class map. Class map is mapped over to Q1. And the third one was the rest. I'm going to apply that to best effort, and that is Q2. Good so far? I haven't done any quality of service yet in terms of actual giving them any priority or anything like that. All I've done is put them into what? Their appropriate queues. Now, these queues are going to be used on the other side. What do I mean by the other side? Do you guys remember I told you on the vEdge, you have two interfaces. One is the Ingress. This is the service side. And this is the Egress. Egress is your VPN 0. So over here, I have Q0, Q1, and Q2 with the appropriate traffic in there. I have done that based on the incoming traffic. Now on the outside, what I do is I specify what is called the scheduler. In the scheduler, what I do is I specify, or also known as the policy map, I specify that if it's Q0, I want to give it, let's say 25% of the bandwidth. This is Q0 is strict. This is always going to be strict. You cannot change that. 25% bandwidth. If it's Q1, I'm going to give it, let's say 30% bandwidth, but it's not strict queuing. It is normal queuing. Q2, I'm going to give the rest of it. You might say, why the best effort is the highest? Because this is shared between all the rest of the data. This is just two types of traffic. Do you understand that? This is done on the outbound. Once I create it, I apply the policy map to the egress, and I'm done. There's steps to it, but the mechanism is that. So the ACL puts the traffic into what? To the appropriate queues, and the scheduler takes it and assigns it what? The bandwidth. How much bandwidth should each one have? The only thing that's special is what? This one is the low latency queue. There's only one low latency queue. And then you apply it to what? Outbound interface. So if you take a look at the flow chart now, these two are the ingress. ACL classifies into the class map. The class map assigns it to the appropriate queue, Q01, excuse me, or 2. On the egress, on the outbound, assign the traffic from the queue to the QoS policy. And what does the QoS policy do? The bandwidth reservation. All right? And apply the policy map to the interface. Good so far, guys? Now, one very important thing that you need to understand, and that's something that I've seen a lot of people miss out on. Let's say I'm doing this bandwidth reservation, and I say the bandwidth reservation that I put over here, based on this diagram, I said 25% on this interface should be to LLQ, 30% for what? Web, 45% for the rest, right? These are percentages. Agreed? Percentages of what?
Yes. The total traffic.
Of the interface, right?
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So 25%, 30%, and 45%. What type of interface is this?
Gig.
Gig. What speed are you getting from your ISP? Are you getting a gig interface or gig speed?
Probably
You're
not.
getting 100,
Probably
100 isn't
not.
it?
Huh?
You're
Yeah,
getting
less.
100.
100.
Ethernet interface. Yeah.
What is your contract with the ISP?
Yeah, the gig is the line speed. So it actually depends on what kind of service we have from the
That's
ISP.
right. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying, right? You see the problem?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm calculating the bandwidth based on the gig interface speed, not what the service provider has given me. Let's say you have a 100 meg connection. Your parameter is going to be way off. It's giving LLQ 250 megabits per second because it's a gig interface. So what you need to do, very, very important, on this interface, specify what is known as a shaper. Shaper basically specifies, although I am a gig interface, I'm not given a gig by the ISP. I'm probably going to have a lot of drops if I send that traffic. I'm going to tell my vEdge to shape the traffic and send it in a buffered manner at the rate of 100 megabits per second. And my bandwidth percent that I'm calculating will be done based on what? This shaper. Understood?
Yeah.
If you don't do that, it will work. One second. Whoa, you know what happened? My phone. On my phone, I had accidentally pressed on, you know, on WhatsApp, you have that thing that records your, let's say, the text. It's recorded like 3 paragraphs of my statement. You know, that it converts your words into
Yes.
text.
Voice to text, is it?
Like, what the hell, who am I writing this message to, which is 2 paragraphs, says DIA, local policy. I was like, what the hell? On my phone. So
Is it send it to someone or?
it didn't send, but it was in the send box. They would freak out. You know, it's not got the send, but when you write a message in WhatsApp, it's still ready to be sent. It's got all the text there. Wow, I was like, what the hell is that? Okay, you guys okay with this? You guys understand that, right? So incoming, I mark it and send it into what? A queue. Outbound, what do I do? For each queue, I specify my QoS policy, which is the bandwidth percentages, and then I apply it to the outside interface. When I apply it, very important that you give it a shape. Otherwise, it's going to use a gig interface for the bandwidth percentages. Ready to implement? Now the steps, there's a lot of different small little steps that you need to do. And to help you out with that, again, what I've done for you guys is, no, not this one.
Sorry, one question actually. So can we do the quality of service on the other way around, like the traffic coming from the outside encapsulated in the IPsec and match maybe DHCP or any IP prefixes and provide bandwidth towards the service?
You are 2 different things. What do you do quality of service for?
For bandwidth reservation or priority.
Yeah, but why do you do it? Because you have congestion, right?
Yeah.
Where would you have congestion? On the internet or on the inside network?
Normally WAN link. Yeah, I know that, but still.
Can you? Yes, you
maybe.
can.
Okay.
To answer your question, yes, you can. But what I wanted you to understand is that it's not common. Actually, nobody does that. It is possible to do it. You can classify it and you can apply it, but nobody does it because when it's coming in, it's already gone through the slowest link. Now you're in a fast link on the inside. You get my point?
Yeah. And one more thing, the 8 classes you mentioned, is it common to all the 8 queues is common to all the vEdges or?
VEdges, correct.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. all the WAN edges, not V edges, all the WAN edges.
Yeah.
So one question there on the queues. If you change the cost as we are doing now, will it impact your control or will it remain there? Your control communication, will it go through the LLQ anyway? Or do you have to specify that?
That you don't have any option. And you don't specify it. So it's automatic.
So irrespective of whether you change your thingy, it will still go on LLQ, yeah?
Your voice cracked up. What did you say? Hello?
So I was just saying, now that we are defining a traffic using your access list and all that, irrespective of that, your control traffic will still go on Q0.
And that you cannot change it. So you don't have an option of changing the traffic. So the control always goes into 0, irrespective of what you're doing with this.
Okay. Okay.
Got it? So now how do you do it? The first thing that I need to do is create the class map. And in the class map, all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to create a class map, give it a name. Let's say I'll call it priority PR, or let's call it voice, just a real time. Let's call it real time. It's just a name. I'll create another one called web, another one called best effort. I'm going to map real time to a class. I'm just creating this class. Basically, all I'm doing is creating the class. Web and BE. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to map that class to a queue. What queue? Real time to 0, web to 1, and BE to 2. This is done under the class map. Now, all these policies that I'm doing are going to be applied locally on every V-edge. This configuration, remember when we did the policy configuration with the centralized, you don't see any policy being configured where? On the actual V-edge. All the policies done on the vSmart. Remember that? You never saw any configuration on the V-edges in terms of the centralized policy. The localized policy is actually getting configured on your edge device. Understood, guys?
Okay, so this is localized policy and it will remain on the edge of the conflict.
Correct. It'll only remain on the edge. Now, the good thing is the way you're doing it with templates, you can still apply it to all the WAN edges in one shot, but it is created as a localized policy. So it will be pushed down to the individual what? The devices. You'll see the actual config over there on the V edges in our case. So how do I do it? Let's go ahead and take a look at how to do it. I'll log in over here. Timed out. I think I have another one that doesn't time out. Yeah, there you go. So the first thing that I will do is I'll go into my configuration.
Just a question there. Even cover a quick question there. The last NAT policy you did was a centralized policy, right?
Correct.
But that also, the configs did go into the V edges, isn't it?
No, it didn't. You're thinking about the interface was set up to NAT. That is different than the NAT policy. So this is the policy that I created over here. The main policy, remember? The main policy had that traffic rules that had applied the, where to go, traffic data. Remember this NAT policy and all that? You can see that on your vSmart, not on your V edges. Take a look, show run. See this policy, NAT, corp nets and all that type of stuff. Use NAT VPN. What you saw on the V edges was which interface was enabled for NATing. That is a template.
Okay. And this is the policy.
This is a policy. And this policy, the VPN policy, the NAT, use NAT 0, see this? This policy is the actual centralized policy. You will not see that on the V edge. Just make sure you see that.
So what are the common localized policies? These QoS and anything else?
Main one is QoS. The other thing that you could do is, you know how you do, remember one of the control policies that I did was to filter certain routes coming in, going out. Remember that 190, 172.16, 234, I said, I only want these to be between 2, 3, and 4. Routing policy, right? If I want to do routing policy in terms of control policy, but I want to do it from what? From the perspective of this side. So I want to control, I don't want all these routes coming in. I would create a routing policy localized over here. So southbound on the edge. That is a localized policy. The routing policy that I did was northbound. It was filtering on what side? On this side. Anything northbound, you would do it with a centralized policy. Got it? So generally on the localized, the most common thing to do is QoS. You could do routing, but generally not done, because if you even want to do route filtering, it's easier to do route filtering where? On these devices outbound. You don't want certain routes going out, filter them outbound over here rather than doing it inbound on the edge. But you could technically do it on the edge as well, inbound. That is a localized policy. So now let's go ahead and take a look at how to do it. So where do I do it? Configuration, policies. Up until now, I've been working with the centralized policy. Now I'm going to do localized policy. But before I go into the localized policy, I'll create all my components, the containers. So that is done under custom options. Now, when you do custom options, take a look. There's components for what? Centralized policy, which I had done traffic policy the last time around. But now I'm working with the localized policy. The first thing that I'm going to do over here is create the list. What is a list? List is your class map. What I've done in your charts also over here is I've told you exactly where to go and do it. So creating the class map, queue mapping, is done under policy, custom options, localized data, lists, and create the class map. And how many class maps do I want to create over there based on the examples that I've been giving you? 3. So class map, you don't have any over here. New class list. This is the mapping that I'm going to do. Class, I have not specified what this is, but I am going to put voice traffic over here. Actually, I called it what? Real time. This is just a name at this point. But any real-time traffic, I'm going to put it into Q0. Got it? Everybody okay with this? Save?
Yep.
Yes.
So now real-time traffic is going to Q0. Similarly, I'm going to create another one. Web. And 1. That's it. All I'm saying is if I use web, the class map, I'm going to put the traffic into Q1. The third one, best effort. Let's just write it. And again, I'm just giving you an example. You can do whatever you want with this. Everybody okay with this?
Yeah.
I have not actually put the data in there, but I've created the queues and the names, the classes for it. Now I'm going to create the ACL. And in the ACL, I'm going to say this type of traffic should go into this queue. So access control policy and IPv4 ACL. And this could be for traffic as well, but I'm going to create this as a QoS ACL. Because my main objective over here is QoS. Add. This is my match. Okay. What's my first match? I'm going to do it for voice traffic, right? DHCP. What value was it? 46, right? You guys are voice guys, some of you guys, right? I think it's 46, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is 46.
46.
46. There you go. You heard that? You heard that? 46, Santosh.
in the inner brain, like 10 years back, you know.
So now you do that as the match action. You don't do just accept, you do a class. Class, which one? Do you remember?
Real time.
Real time. Which goes into what queue? Q0.
Zero, yeah. Zero.
Do you understand how it goes? So you, in the ACL, you specify your condition and put it into the class. The class is connected to the queue. I'll copy it. My second one, I'll edit it. I'm not going to do it based on DHCP. What did I say the second one was? Web.
Port, yeah.
So I'm going to do it based on the destination port. And if I have more than one, you can do this. 80 space 443. Not a comma. Okay. Good so far? So this is the match. How about the action? 8443 goes into what? Not real time. Which one?
Best of web.
Web. Clear, guys? Everybody okay with this?
Yep.
And because it's in sequence, like sequence 1, sequence 2, sequence 3, the last one, this guy over here, I'm going to take this match off. If I take any match off, what does it mean? Everything, the rest. And that one I'm going to put into best effort. Save it. Read it now. You guys take a look at it. Are you guys okay with this? DHCP 46, real time. These two ports into web. And the rest, no match condition, best effort. Clear?
Yep.
And the default action also, make sure you put it as accept. So
how about the control traffic, routing protocols and all of those?
Automatically in 0. You don't, as I said, you don't have to put anything with it. It's automatically in 0.
Right.
Even on a router, when you do it, that traffic is control plane traffic, which automatically goes into priority queuing. It gets automatically sent out first.
So here then we're using two in the same, so the routing protocol and also the voice in the 0.
Yeah, you can put multiple stuff in the same queue. That's not a problem.
Yeah, okay. But in real world, it's normally that control kind of is in 0, but the voice and video is in maybe 1 or
It's
1 or
also
2,
in
right?
0. When you say priority queue, there's only one priority queue for a device. So it's also
Okay.
0, but you don't see it.
Okay.
Good so far, guys. So what have I done? Based on this ACL, I said DAC.
Just quick one. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the last accept all that you did, we anyway matching all the traffic, right? You
didn't need to do it. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. Sometimes you don't do the match all. So as a habit, I put accept all.
Okay. Well, what is that actually then?
It's to permit any statement.
That's the last statement.
That's like a permit any statement in an ACL types. So DHCP into real time, and real time I had matched to 0. Port 80 and 443, I mapped it to what? Web in my ACL, and web is mapped over to what? 1. And the last one was any, was mapped over to best effort, which is mapped to 2, right? But I haven't specified what I want to do with 0, 1, and 2 yet. I've just done what? I've taken the ingress and put it into what? Into the queues. Good so far? You guys are okay with this?
Yes.
Now take a look at the chart and you'll see that what I'm doing over here. I've done this. I could have done the forwarding class. I'll do that in a second. And this. These two things that are done at this point. Actually, 3 things. Class map I've done, ACL I've done, and the No, I haven't done this one. Hold on a second. Which ones have I done? ACL I did. Class map I did. I've done two. This one and this one I've done. And these two, doesn't matter which order you do it in, because they're independent of each other, as long as you have them done prior to this. So this is the 4-step. 2 and 3 can be interchanged. So now I'm going to do, the reason I did it like that, the way I was doing it, is because I wanted to put the class and put it based on the ACL into the appropriate class. Now that I have it inside the queues, what do I do with those queues is the scheduler. So on the egress, what I'm going to do, I should change it, but it really doesn't matter which order you do it in over here. The 2 and 3 are interchangeable. Now, the third thing that I need to do over here is, now that the traffic is inside the queues, I need to create my scheduler. What is the scheduler? I'll call it the cost map, the QoS map. This is where I define
Your bandwidth percentage.
Bandwidth percentages for the queues. Remember, I've already put the traffic into the queue. And notice there's only one queue over here right now. What is the one queue? 0. And it's got control traffic. And what type of queue is it? It's a low latency, right? Now I'm going to add Q1. All right. What percentage bandwidth do you want to allocate? It is done based on this. I said 25, right? Now, if you find it hard to move it and get it to 25, get it close enough and use the left or right arrow to move it. So once you're close enough, I use a couple of left arrows to get it there. It's 19, so I'll move my right arrow to move it to 25. Buffer percent is basically the same thing as bandwidth percent. Always keep it the same. Don't change this. This percentage is based on what? By default, the interface bandwidth, which is not a good thing to do. What do you want to change it to? Shaper. And I'll show you later on where to do that. But for right now, I haven't applied it, so it really doesn't matter. And the last thing over here you need to define is your drops. If the drops happen, scheduling always weighted round robin. So scheduling is always weighted round robin between the other queues, except for which queue? The first queue, the 0. Drops, 2 options: random early detect, red, or tail drop. So let's just do random, because it's got the web traffic. It's a TCP based traffic. Random early detect is a good thing to do for TCP based traffic. These things are questions that I got on my SD-WAN lab. What type of scheduling do you have? What type of drops can you do? So what are the scheduling types of Q0? It's always what? LLQ. What type of tail drop is it? It's always tail drop. For the other queues, what is the scheduling type? There's only one. It's weighted round robin. You don't have a choice between the other queues. And it has 2 options: random early or tail drop. The third queue, Q2, and we said 45%. It was the rest of it. And we'll do a tail drop from this one over here. Do you see this over here? Where does this come from? Best effort. Or in the other one, you saw what? Where did that come from? Remember, in my ACL, I have mapped over to what? The class. The class was mapped over to the queue. Because of that, it shows up over here like that. Clear, guys? Everybody okay with this policy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I double clicked twice, so it's there. Let me just make sure it's taken. Yeah, it's there, right? You guys okay with this? Now comes the time that I need to apply it. The first thing that I need to do is I need to push this policy on the devices. By pushing this policy on the devices, I will have the ACL created. I will have my policies created. But these policies, these are what? Localized policies. They will be pushed down to what? To the WAN edges. So I need to do this step first to make sure that I see them in my WAN edges, because the next step when I go to apply it, it will look for this ACL name. It's going to look for this policy name before I can apply it. So QoS map is created, right? I'll copy this because I need to apply it.
Post map. You had web and the best effort, but the other one was named as control, yeah? And that wouldn't change.
That doesn't change,
we
yeah,
put
but it's also real time, but it won't change. It'll always stay as what do you call it? Control. So I'll see this cost map. This is the name of the cost map. I'm going to apply. But what's the name of the policy? The QoS policy or whatever I called it. Let's just check. Oh, I haven't created the localized policy yet. Sorry. So I've created the cost map. I've created my ACL. Now what I need to do is create that localized policy. I've created the elements. The elements that I created that I need to push down with the localized policy are my ACL and my cost map, the policy map. I need to create a localized policy to push this information, these creations down to what? To the WAN edges. So to do that, I'll create a localized policy. Up until now, I was just creating the elements, the components. So now I'm going to go back and create a localized policy. Up until now, I don't have a localized policy right now. What did I do? I created what? A list. I created a forwarding class. I created an ACL. List was attached to the ACLs, to the queues. Forwarding class took the queues and assigned it the certain amount of bandwidth. Now I'm going to create a policy, which I'm going to call these components. I've done the creation already. If you guys take a look at it, my class map should be there already. All right. Next, forwarding classes, I'm going to add my cost map. What is the cost map? Import cost map. Or I could have done it by creating a localized policy, but I wanted to have it created. Next, I'm going to have the ACL. Again, add, import, and my ACL called QoS ACL is there, attached. Next, route policy. Remember I told you I could do route filtering over here? This is the other thing that I could do with the localized policy. Generally not done over here, generally done on the internal router. Better to do it over there. But if I wanted to, I could do it over here. I'm not doing anything. Click next and create it. And I need to apply to application and QoS on the service side. Why service side? Because it's on the internal side. So I'll call it local QoS. Because I'm not doing any routing, that's why I called it local QoS. That's the policy. And what does a local QoS policy contain? What are the two elements that it contains? What is inside the local policy? It's the ACL called QoS ACL. And I have the cost map, which is also called the cost map. All right.
Khawar, what do you mean by we apply it on the application in this case?
Application, I don't need to do it. If I wanted to, I could also classify traffic based on the application. So deep packet inspection type of thing. So I could leave that off if I want to. The main thing is the service side.
Okay.
Save policy. Now, once I create the policy, how do I apply it? I need to apply it where? I need to apply it to the WAN edges. I don't do it over here. There's no activate per se. Yeah. in order to apply the localized policy, is there a mechanism I can apply apply configurations to my WAN edges? How did I apply configuration to my WAN edges?
Service policy?
No. Configurations to my WAN edges.
Template?
Yeah, there you go, templates.
Templates?
Yeah, so templates, right? If I want to apply configurations to my WAN edges, I do it through templates. So this is where I'll call this local policy. Under templates, this is for my branches. Where's the branches? There you go. Edit. Towards the bottom is the policy. And what policy do I want to apply? The local quality of service policy. Update. No specific changes. Next. And let's pick on one. I want you guys to see what it does. Now I'm actually going to push the policy that I created to where? To my 3 WAN edges, R2, R3, and R4.
Did you create a shaper?
Not yet, not yet. That's when I apply it. So these policies, that's a good thing that you brought it up. Although I've created these policies, I have not applied anything. It's just creating the components. I still need to apply it to the inside interface. That's the ACL and all that. I haven't done that. I've created the ACL, but I haven't applied it. See, this is my policy, which specifies what? The class map, real time, goes to Q2, web, and best effort. This is my ACL that matches it, puts it into real time. Remember I created that? Yeah? This is going to be pushed down to what? This is going to be pushed down to my devices. But I'm missing 2 very important components. Although all my policies are going to be there, I have not applied it. I need to apply it in 2 places. Where? When the traffic comes in on the gig 02 interface, I need to apply the ACL inbound. By applying the ACL inbound is where I'll do the marking and classification to put it into Q1, Q2, and Q3. Q0, 1, and 2, sorry. So I need to apply the ACL. Have I done that yet? No. The other thing is the outbound. I need to do quality of service on the outbound. The scheduler that I specified, 25%, 40%, or 45%, or 30%, I need to specify which interface do I want to do it on. If I want to do it on both, I need to do it on both. I need to apply that. And when I apply the cost map, I also need to specify the shaper at the time. These steps I haven't done yet, but I could not do these steps because I need to apply the ACL on the interface. If I don't have that ACL defined on the vEdge, it's going to give me an issue. So that's what I did over here. I created the ACL at this point. Once the ACL is created, now what am I going to do? I'm going to apply it now. So before I do the next step, I needed to make sure my policy is applied. So now if I go to my WAN edges, I need to have these policies that I showed you guys applied over here, because I'm going to be calling this ACL. Which ACL? And applying it. If I did not have this definition over here, I'd say, where's the ACL? So how did I push the ACL? I used a localized policy to push the ACL and the cost map. The ACL, I called it what? QoS ACL. And this one, I called it QoS-map. So first I need to have them in place, and then that's what I've done over here. So again, the reason I did this, I know it's complicated, especially the first time you look at it. Step 1, do the mapping. What mapping did I do over here? I took in this particular one, all I did was I said real time goes into 0, web goes into 1, and best effort goes into 2. That's all I did. Created the class map. Here or here, doesn't matter which order, 2 and 3 is interchangeable. So I created the class map, ACL first. What did the ACL do? 46 goes into real time. 443 goes into web. The rest goes into best effort. Independent, this is the ACL mapping. Then what do I do with the 0, 1, and 2? What did I do with it? I specified 0 should get what? 25%, 1 should get 30%, and 2 should get 45%. These two components need to be in place. Once they're in place, I can call it in the localized policy to push the policy to what? Push the policy to the WAN edges. Now let me ask you this. At this time, well, actually I created this over here and I applied it over here. At this time, do I have my QoS in place? Is it working right now?
No, because you have not applied it to the interface.
I have not applied it to the interface. So I've created my class maps and my policy maps. I have not applied it to the interface. I have two interfaces. I have the Ingress interface and I have the Egress interface. Either one, whichever way you want to do it, you can do it to specify it. And both of them are done based on feature templates because these are interfaces. So the VPN 0 interfaces that you want to do this quality of service on, two things that I need to do over here. What are the two things? Number one, apply the map. It's called QoS map. And the second thing that I need to do is specify the shaper. On what interface? Gig
Outside.
0, 1. You can do it on the MPLS as well if you want to, but in my case, I just want to focus on the internet connection. I'm assuming that the MPLS is good in terms of traffic. All right, so how do I do this? Let's take a look. And it doesn't matter which order you do it on, 6 and 7, as long as you do both for it to work properly. So I'll go to templates again. I'll go to feature templates. I'll work on gig 1, which is the internet connection. VPN 0 gig 1. And in there, I need to use this map called cost map. You need to make sure because there's no drop down, you need to copy paste it so that you don't make a typo. Let it come up. Now over here, this is the gig 1 interface. Let it come up. Still doing its thing. Loading. This is the gig 1 interface, GE01. In there, one of the options that you see is ACL costs, right? Quality of service. Go over there. There's the shaping rate. What do I want to set it to? You can say device specific because you can have different devices have different rates. But in my case, let's say I have 100 megabits per second on each one. 10,000 kilobits is what? It's in kilobits per second. It is 1 meg, or 10,000 is what? 10,000 kilobits is 10 megs, right? 100 megs. So my bandwidth percentage will be based on this. What if I don't do that? Leave it as the default. It's going to calculate based on gig. And the other thing that I want to do is the cost map. I would just copy paste it. I copied it from this guy. Understood, guys? Everybody okay with this? So your question was, where do I put the shaper? Where do I apply it? On the internet facing interface is the outbound queue. Good, guys? Everybody okay?
Yeah. So do we also apply this to the other interface or
Inside?
not? No, the gig 00, the MPLS.
If you want, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you want to do it on both, you can do it on both. But
Yeah,
you
okay.
will only be able to do one at a time, because once you make a change, it'll have you force you to push it first. So once you're done one, you can go to the other template and do it on gig 00 as well. And maybe the gig 00 has a different bandwidth availability. All right, let's let it finish.
One question while this is happening. So, I mean, we did do the default route pointing to the gig 01, right? Going to the internet interface. So what happens if that interface goes down, or that link goes down to the internet traffic?
See, this, forget about the default gateway over here. What is this? What am I doing this entire thing for? Is to get from VPN to VPN, right? So when this traffic comes in over here, by default, what is it going to try to do? It's going to do ECMP between what? These two interfaces by default.
Correct. Yes.
So if I lose this link, all the traffic is going over MPLS.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, but for the internet local breakout, we almost like forced everything out of gig 0.
Absolutely. What if you remember over there? There's a small little thing called fallback.
Ah, okay.
There's a fallback. I didn't click it because I was not doing that over there. There's a small checkbox called fallback. That means if this interface goes down, then you use the
MPLS.
through the, what do you call it? Through the headquarters.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
There's a small checkbox. When you do it, it's called fallback. Good point.
Yeah.
You guys okay with this? You guys understand that? That I've applied the QoS map now. You can check that over here as well. Now, if you go over here, I applied it to the outside interface. So if I look at gig 01, you should see the cost map applied. Do you see this? This is what I just did. So the cost map that I created is applied, but right now no traffic is coming in it because I don't have anything in terms of what? My ingress policy that is specifying that. That is done based on this incoming interface QoS, which is where? Which is on, sorry, not here, over here. So gig 02 in Ingress, I need to specify that ACL. So again, I need to do it through the template, but this time around, which template am I going to use? The inside template. And that's my last step. Now I'm applying the Ingress traffic. So that is gig 2 for me. HQ, no, the normal one. Edit. So the ingress is where I classify the traffic. So now I'll go over here, let it come up. ACL QoS. I'm not going to do any cost map or anything like that. That is done on the outbound. But what I'm going to do on the ingress, on the inside interface, is the ingress ACL. Turn it on, it's off by default. And give it a name. Copy paste it from here. That's the name of the ACL. So this ACL, applying it inbound, will classify the traffic based on that. put it in the appropriate queues. The queues are over here. They're telling it where to go. And based on those queues, I have my buffering done, the bandwidth reservation. And once I do that, I apply that cost map into my outgoing interface, which is over here. But I needed to finish this off for it to kick in. So that was the last thing, was put the Ingress ACL, apply it, and I'm done. Now the traffic coming in based on the ACL gets put into the appropriate queues. The appropriate queues are shaped. They're given bandwidths that will be allocated to particular queues. And based on that, my QoS will work. Let's wait for it to kick in. And let's wait.
Hi, Khawar.
Yep.
Quick one.
Mm-hmm.
We have a new join, Zahir Jahangir. You know him, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, Zahir.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
I'm
10
good.
minutes. We'll be done. Almost done.
Take your time. Take your time.
So now I have applied the QoS. So this is where the last step came in. Let's recap this now. I started by doing what? Creating the class map. What was the purpose of the class map? Just create a name, real-time, web, best effort, mapped it to the appropriate queues. In here in the ACL, I mapped the DHCP, the web, and what was the other one? Best effort. And I basically, based on that, put them into the appropriate queues. The incoming traffic was classified because these were just names. This is the actual thing that specifies that it is web or it is voice. Once that was done, then based on those queues, I specified that Q0 has 25% LLQ. 1 has 30%, which is WRR with WRED, and 2 had 45% with WRR, weighted round robin. Once that was done, I created a localized policy where I called both of these elements. Using the device template, I pushed that policy to my WAN edges. Once it was pushed to the WAN edges, then I needed to go into the interfaces, the egress and the ingress interface, and specified my QoS map and the shaper over here. And on this one, I basically specify my Ingress ACL to classify. Ingress ACL is just used for the classification part of it. And that's it. This is pretty much what you need to do. Let's make sure that I have applied it. It has worked. Looks good. Now I am classifying the traffic on the inbound. You can check that out now. On the Gig02 interface, which is under VPN1, you now have an inbound ACL, which is classifying the traffic. So this is the ACL. When the traffic comes into Gig0/2, we'll put the appropriate traffic into the appropriate queues. Once it's inside the queue, the policy map will allocate the amount of bandwidth. And once that's done, you need to exit, and the exit is done from Gig01. If it's going through Gig00, which is the MPLS one, right now I'm not doing any quality of service. What if I did want to do that? The only thing that I needed to do for that one then would be go to template for Gig0. If you wanted to do quality of service also on what? On my Gig0 interface, the MPLS interface, I would just go over here. Gig0, not the HQ, the other one. Edit, what was the name of the policy? Just don't want to misspell it. That's very important because it does not give you a drop down. Let it load up. So this is the Gig0 interface. I did that on Gig01, the internet facing interface. Now I need to do it on what? on the gig 0 interface. That's the MPLS interface, gig 0. So again, ACL cost map, shaper, maybe this one does have 500 on the MPLS. Let's say I've been given 500 megs, or let's say 200 megs. 20,000 is 20 megs, 200 megs, and the cost map is, so now my percentages on MPLS increase. An update. And next, and device. All good, guys?
Yep.
Yes.
And that is quality of service for you guys. So now I'll send you these fabulous paint jobs that I've done over here. Trust me, they're very, very useful. If you follow them, you will be able to configure your quality of service on your WAN edges.
So Khawar, is there any WAN acceleration in VH, like WAS kind
No.
of accelerate? No, that's just taken off, right?
Yeah, that's not its job. So those type of things you would need to do based on a WAS or some type of device that does that for you. Its job is basically a basic quality of service and the normal stuff, the VPN stuff that it's doing.
Okay.
Should apply it. If it applies, we're good to go. Now, in terms, it's done. Now, in terms of the next class, so we're done with the SD-WAN now. All the different things, all the different topics are done. You should have a comfort level with it. Okay. Next 2 weeks, as I told you guys, I have that class with Germany for enterprise wireless. The following week, I can do the class again for SDA. So next 2 weeks, I'm not going to be available during the weeks because I'm doing that Germany class.
Khawar, one thing. You mentioned about the fallback for the internet access. So when we configure the fallback to the MPLS WAN link, means the NAT and the
no, we don't NAT that.
default.
We basically forward the traffic to the headquarter, and the headquarter will.
Okay. And one more thing.
We backhaul it back to the DC.
Okay, so the NAT and all those features will be configured on the manage in DC.
DC or the headquarter, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, whichever the edge device on that side.
That is correct.
And the WAN edge can be configured with the port channel.
WAN edge can be configured with the port channel.
Yeah.
I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't done it. I've done sub interfaces. I haven't done a port channel.
Okay, that's all right. Okay.
You can check if it's possible or not, but I haven't personally. I have not done it. I don't see it there, but maybe it's there. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, because I was Prithvi mentioned about the if in the internet link goes down, then I was just thinking if there is a port channel, then if one link goes down,
port channel with your ISP anyways.
Yes, yeah. I mean, most of the cases. So I mean, not like most of the cases. There are
most of the cases you don't do a port channel with your ISP.
It depends actually.
No, I'm telling you. If think about what you're saying. A port channel is a local thing, right? Port channel does not.
Yeah.
You might be thinking about bundling two interfaces and doing ECMP, but that's not a port channel.
No. What I'm saying is the LSCP based port channel.
Yeah, generally you don't do it with the ISP.
Generally, we don't do that. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But will it support? But you haven't checked. That's fine. Yeah.
I told you I haven't checked it.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
Even on the router. Think about it. Can you do a port channel on a router?
Yeah, I mean,
not
if
on a
you
layer
want
3
to
switch, not on a layer 3 switch.
Yeah, I mean, in our case, maybe the port channel can be useful. I'm not saying we need to or something.
What I'm
on the
asking
services
you,
side.
can you do a port channel on a router? Not on a layer 3
Yeah.
switch.
Layer 3 switch, yeah, that's
No,
true.
I'm
On
talking
the
about a
router,
router.
yeah, that's true.
You can't.
We
Yeah, you
we
can't.
cannot. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Okay, that should answer your question.
yeah, that's true. Exactly.
That should answer your question. When I said generally you don't do this because your edge device connecting to your ISP is not a switch. It is a router.
Yeah, that's true.
You get my point. All right, guys. So I will be in touch the next couple of weeks. I'll be off because of that Germany class. After that, we'll start SDA the following week, the week of the 28th or 29th, something like that.
Okay, Khawar, thanks for that. Thanks for your sessions. Yeah, much appreciated. Couple of questions. One was regarding the lab. I think some of us were already in touch with you. Maybe you can slot us lab for a couple of days. We can practice some of these.
No problem. Just send me an email during the week and I'll turn the rack on. Generally, nobody is using it during the week right now, the internet lab. So you should be able to use it. Just send me an email.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think most likely we'll be using only during the night UK time, which is probably about 8 or 9 o'clock UK time in the night.
Try to do it earlier so that I can turn it on and go to sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
What time do you go to bed, Khawar?
About 1:30, 2 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock latest.
Khawar, you don't sleep. Khawar, you never sleep.
Sometimes I don't. I have a session now. You guys, I gotta go.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
See you guys. Take care.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
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 Zahir, I'll log out so that it finishes the recording for this session.
Done. I'll also log out.